All right, welcome to the June operational committee meeting. We have a packed agenda, just like last time. So hopefully we can get through anything. And if you have any questions, as always, feel free to bring them up, raise your hand, and then we can jump directly to you after the presentation portion is completed for that section. And I will wait until Filippo gets this in presentation view.
Looks good.
Yep, you're good.
Excellent.
All right, like I said, we got a packed agenda. Jose, thank you for joining us. He will provide an update on the steering committee structure as things have kind of finalized and panned out. And then we will go through a lot of project updates and provide you feedback on there. And I think a lot of the questions, if you have, like I said, bring them up. If not, we can wait towards the end and we can do a Q&A. Jose, I'm going to hand it off to you.
Thanks, Mike. And thanks for inviting me today. I just apologize for not joining you guys sooner, but I thought it would be great to join today and kind of give you guys an update as to where we're at. I think most of you know me, Jose Galvez. I'm the new chair for Vulcan. And last, what we've recently done is we've done some governance and a bit of a restructuring as to how the steering committee is put together. We now have a structure where we've got 13 members and really spread across the landscape of the types of users and organizations that are really involved with Vulcan. As you can see, we've got two members from every kind of subgroup here, um, as well as the various committees such as this one represented. And so this is just a slide showing the overall structure, the chair, the vice chair, and then the members from both biopharma, government, academia, consortium, um, um, implementers such as health tech, and then HL7 itself is also represented in the steering committee. Um, let's go to the next slide. The next slide is probably the more important one because it actually shows who our steering committee members are and what their terms are. So I'll leave this here for just a couple of minutes while you look at this. Right now, as already indicated, I'm the chair currently. Chris Decker is our vice chair, and then we've got the remaining members and which groups that they're representing. And again, if there's any questions, please feel free to interrupt or to raise your hand. Let's see. Let's go to the next slide. All right. So what is it that we're trying to get accomplished in this up and coming year? I think really what we're looking at is kind of reevaluating what our current projects are and what the onboarding process is for new projects. And I think this is something that we'll lean very heavily in on this subcommittee as well to really help us look at what are the types of projects that we should be engaged in moving forward, and really with the idea of how do we engage our membership, how do we drive membership, and what's important to our current members and what would be important to prospective members. One of the things we have heard from members is complaining that there weren't projects for them to join, or they didn't know how to join, or the focus was off or whatever. And so really we want to focus in on what is it that we need to do to support that? What are the types of projects that will both move Vulcan forward and be of importance to our members? And so we're reevaluating all the current projects and looking at it and also assessing new ones. We're also going to be asking our steering committee members to really participate more in the various projects. And so the idea is that someone from the steering committee should be invested in the current projects as well. So that way there is accountability, there's a sense of investment and really helping bring back from those projects what the needs are and where things are going, and not just and be able to speak to the steering committee in that way. And so we'll be assigning liaison members to the current projects. That's something that we're just now getting started with. And hopefully that will be get them more directly involved and be able to escalate issues quicker, etc. The other thing to note is we do have an upcoming off-cycle connectathon coming up in July, which is great. We've got 4 tracks, and we've got the connectathon with EPI and Apex. as well as some additional tracks for the SOA and UDP. And so that's
Hey,
kind of where
Jose,
we're at right now. Yes,
sorry to interrupt you,
that's all
but
right.
some of us are supposed to be on the Apex call, and
Hmm.
Raju, Magda, and Jason and I will have to drop because I think I put the wrong link in the calendar invite. So sorry to interrupt you, but we are going to jump to the other HL7 call that's happening in parallel.
Very good. All right.
Um,
Thank
just
you.
so you know, if it's the same call, which I think it is, it's actually at the top of the hour, Jamita.
Okay,
So it's right after this meeting. It's a different URL, and I'll send you the direct URL and myself.
Oh
thank
man,
you,
I was
Filippo.
excited to hang out with
Appre-
Jose.
th-
What's
Thank
up,
you,
man?
Filippo. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
If
no,
you don't mind sending it, we can be on time for that one.
yeah, forwarding it right now. Thank you.
Thanks.
Perfect. Perfect. Glad we're solving this in real time. This is awesome. So we can get things just taken care of, right? That's
Yep.
really all the slides that I had. I just wanted to, again, I know that everyone on this group probably knows me. I've been around in Vulcan since the beginning, like most of us have, and a lot of us. But just wanted to come and really share with you what the focus, the new governance structure that we've put in place, and really, emphasizing on how important projects are and how we're looking at reevaluating them to make sure that what we're doing speaks to our membership.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jose. Any questions about this? I know we're sometimes hesitant on asking questions so quickly. Also, Chris, anything from your end? I know you're both kind of in this new role, but I wanted to get your opinion as well.
Yeah, I think Jose and I talked about it, and so I think he covered most of it. The only other area is around membership that we're also exploring, kind of taking a step back on that and looking at what is our membership, how do we go and talk to them, potential new members. So that's another area that we're focused on as well.
Wonderful. I'm sure everybody's very happy to see the new structure and the opportunities moving forward, Jose
Great.
and Chris.
Hey,
Okay.
sorry, Mike Buckley. I joined late.
Yep, go ahead, Mike.
Did we do anything with membership? Because I know that's our to stay alive. We kind of need it.
That's our focus, and it's actually one of the items agenda for the next steering committee.
Great.
So you'll hear more about it in I think a few days.
Perfect. Thanks.
All right, Filippo, we could probably move on to the next part of the agenda.
Here,
Apex, Craig.
Craig, you can get him straight on the timing of this event.
Yes, you're right. It's 11 a.m. Eastern time this morning. So just as a heads up, I think we've mentioned it before, but we've progressed the Apex project to a point where we have a solid IG and we need to start spreading awareness and start getting feedback from a broader base. And so far, it is going fantastic. Like all the the hypotheses that we had about real-time regulatory submissions and real-time exchange, it's all being proven true. So Omar, from DNN Nexus is going to present. Core from NNIT and Rita at Amgen. They've actually built systems that demonstrate this in action. So really looking forward to this. Obviously, this is all still early days, and these systems and the standard still has a ways to mature. But at this very early stage, everything is looking fantastic, and everything that we talked about delivering is coming true. So I hope there's no giant brick walls hidden in front of us. But I'm sure when you look at the people that are involved, I'm sure whatever obstacles we find, we'll be able to get through it or over or under it. And it will be recorded as well. So those of you, if you can't attend, then don't worry about it. We're going to record the event and we'll post it. Philippe, I don't know where we'll put it. Like, what is the Vulcan YouTube page or the website? Anyway, so, YouTube?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
YouTube is the default, and then we share it through LinkedIn and other social media. Of course, on the
Okay.
website.
Yeah, perfect. And we've got great attendance so far. So, Filippo, I think we're up to 100 or maybe over 100 now.
Over 100, yeah. Well
Yeah.
over 100.
Yeah, so this is fantastic. And people are really excited too. Like, for example, Omar was sharing with us in one of our previous project team meetings that, with, same story that we've all been hearing is, with Claude and, some of the LLMs, they're making incredible progress on this. And Core and Reed have said the same thing, is what they are developing is the pace is crazy. And Filippo, we were chatting about even the pace of the project is crazy because we all realize we're thinking back is like, when did we start this project? What was it, Filippo? Was it late summer last year that we started, or is it?
Correct. It was approved, I believe it was in July, August.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, July, August, and then we started late last year, and then really in earnest, kind of started from January to now.
Mhm.
So, I mean, in under let's call it 6 months, roughly 6 months, 8 months, when you see what Rita, Core, and Omar have been able to do with the IG, it's pretty amazing. So yeah, if you want to go to the next slide, Filippo.
Yes. I'm multitasking. Yeah, I'm also
Yeah,
checking
no
the
worries.
latest invitations to the invite.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
And yeah, so this is just a quick overview of what's going on here. So you'll see the title of the event. We made this kind of tongue-in-cheek reference to Netflix being this Netflix and Blockbuster. That's one is to be a little bit uh, sassy with the kind of title and bring people in, but also there is a direct reference to that moment in history with that business change is such a stark shift from the past to the future with the streaming situation between Blockbuster and Netflix. And there's a direct reference to streaming here. So the idea of how this works is the company would stream their documents to the regulator, to their FHIR server, using binaries and APIs. Then you'd use a document reference to attach to that binary, and that carries your metadata about the document, like version, titles, categories, things of that nature. And then use a task to keep track of that regulatory activity throughout its whole workflow. So you have, some regulators have amazing systems and you can log in and you can see where you are, like an Amazon shipment. A lot of other regulators, it's very uncommon actually. A lot of regulators don't have that. So, regulators deal with that issue of, the company calling you every minute saying, hey, this thing hasn't, where's this thing? Where's that? So it's like going in blind where you don't know where your Amazon shipment is and you're calling Amazon saying, where is it? So this is kind of a common approach that can be applied for all regulators, all products. So not just human drugs, but vet, medical devices, natural health products, inspections, anything. And it would allow us all to be able to track these things to very fine degree of detail throughout its process. And then we're also using the subscription service as well. So if the status changes, the regulator posts an invoice or posts a question, the company would get a notification through that subscription. So it's a pretty interesting use of FHIR capabilities out of the box. And we're getting a lot of interest from people because this isn't just a human drug thing. So like I said, this could be used across the life sciences sector. I think there's use cases, we even get into health technology assessments and things like that. We're chatting about adverse event reporting. So this could be something special that kind of turns into something more than we originally thought. So anyways, I'll stop there because I know we're short on time. So yeah, looking forward to the event. And and we're planning a second event in September because we want to show so many things. So it's, we obviously ran out of time. So we'll plan a second event in September, and then that event will focus on some different use cases. So we'll actually collaborate with the UDP team, and we'll do a clinical trial demo, and maybe demo a few other things. And then, oh yes, thanks for reminding me that we have another event on June 16th. So there's 4 types of EPIs, long story short. The basic one, you just convert the Word document to FHIR. The type 2, you add product details, like attributes about the product, like strength, packaging, dose form, ingredients, all that kind of stuff. Type 3 is you add clinical details, where you encode the indication, you encode the interactions, contraindications, the population, the dosing regimen, you encode all that. And then type 4 is kind of like the most advanced version of the drug label on FHIR, where it's maximally personalized. You can connect the text of the label to the resources. So for example, you could connect text in the indication with the clinical use definition about that indication, which has the population, demographics for that indication, as an example. So that meeting on the 16th, that will be to talk about that type 4 and to talk about the significance of that, because we did all kind of the technical work, and similar to Apex, we had these hypotheses on how this could work and how you create a maximally granular and personalized drug label. And similar to Apex is that hypothesis being proven true now that we've kind of developed the technical foundation. So this meeting is now similar to Apex, is to spread awareness, to say, hey, we have this new capability. What do we do with it? What's the best practice? How do we use it? So now we need feedback, from the community. And so this will be the first of a series of events to spread awareness and to start seeking feedback from subject matter experts and stakeholders to say, we have a capability to do something special here. How best to approach this to deliver results. So yeah, so that's EPI and Apex.
Bev, you came off mute. Any questions?
No, I was
Comments?
just going to say, I think the Type 4 too is a great place. And I know I've mentioned this in some other meetings where the real world data activation can enter in as well, because we typically think of the way we've, done things in the past with the clinical trial, coupled up. But I think that Type 4 opens the door that we, activate real world data, real world evidence as well.
Craig, I'm always fascinated the way you kind of structure these products, these IGs. And I think it's very interesting to do a lessons learned on how we can apply some of the fundamentals for existing or future projects, because even with the type approach, phasing in incremental possibilities for industry to implement and realize, rather than saying here's the full thing, right? Which maybe not be a practical solution for many. So again, that's probably something we should evaluate. I think Filippo as a operations committee as well.
Yeah, happy to share the lessons learned there, because I think you're right. I think that can apply across projects. And Mike, this is something you, Filippo, and I have been chatting about, is that implementation arm is like, okay, fantastic. We've done all this wonderful work to develop these IGs, but then now the work doesn't stop. It's like, okay, how do you facilitate the implementation? And I think what you just described and what we're doing with these IGs is a direct result of that, is how do you make it easier? So yeah, happy to have that conversation and kind of share what we've learned so far.
Wonderful. Mitra, you have your hand raised.
Yes, thanks, Mike. So, Greg, this Apex also includes the SBL?
Yes. So we've designed it specifically so it can carry anything. So whether you want PDF, docx, SPL, XML, FHIR, XML, data sets, anything. Because we originally started, when we first started, we were thinking, okay, well, let's do all future. But that kind of doesn't line up with reality, where the majority of our whole world is still in that legacy PDF in V3 world. So that's why we designed it to say Apex is just the wrapper. You can put whatever you want in that wrapper, and then that allows, and then to Mike's point about implementation, that allows maximum flexibility. And Jose, I mean, we had spoken a while back to say, another example is, do you have to use Apex for everything? It's like, no, you could use it just for label negotiation and the quick back and forth, back and forth.
Oh, yes, that's
So that's why we recommend and say, okay, here's, you can use it for the end to end, but we did not take a hard stance and say, you cannot put SPL in there, or you must use it end to end. You can't just use it for pieces. So we're trying to be as flexible as we can to help make it easier to implement and kind of fulfill the use cases that regulators and industry need it for.
so. As you know, Scott was working on SPL on Fire, so it's still on hold. So that Apex Cat could be used, like if one day FDA moves to Fire for SPL, we could use Apex to receive labels in Fire format, right?
Well, separate things. So yes, you would use Apex to exchange. So Apex would be kind of like the envelope and the mechanism of exchange, like the kind of
Yeah, like,
replace the
yes.
gateway and with the API and everything. But EPI would replace SPL. That's what that would be.
Yeah, okay.
And we've taken a lot of, and we'd love to follow up with the FDA, because we've taken what Scott and you guys did, and
Yes.
we've incorporated that into API.
Yeah, okay.
So anytime the FDA is ready to kind of come on board with Fire for labeling, I think it would be an easy switch, because we've taken the work that you guys have done,
Right.
and I think we've kind of finished that last mile bit of it.
Okay.
So yeah, I think we're ready to go whenever you guys are ready. So let us know.
Okay, great. And then I have a question for Beverly. So on real world data submission as part of clinical trial to FDA, so if we use Apex, so then our gateway, the FDA gateway, the next gen, has to have the capability to receive it in conformity to FHIR standard, right? So you were just
Correct. I did a slide here and I cut off part, but this is basically kind of an overall view of, what we've seen come out from the various health authorities, and where we're kind of preparing data. But yeah, I would think from the real world data activation, it would be, FHIR, complementing, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Benjadas?
Yeah. Just to say, to reply to the questions from EU perspective, we use what Craig said, type 1, but this type 1 implementation is already integrated here. And additionally on that, we have member states, like for example, Sweden, like Germany, and I think France as well, who are closer to what we call type 4. So we include all these requirements in this effort, and during the connectathons and the submitted use cases, all of these submitted cases have been delivered successfully. So really, it's a very good, let's say, reference point to continue. Even from SPL, I remember Mitra. It was 2 years ago, the connectathon, Craig, that we used this SPL exercise. So most of the item points have been checked, passed the test, and we keep record to a few items, and we said to test it in a future, let's say, opportunity. I think, Mitra, that's a very good reference point, because the way that Craig is going can be, let's say, an umbrella, more or less how I do things in UTP for the protocol. And then each region can adapt, let's say, the part we do need. Very good effort, Craig. Congratulations.
Yeah, the team's been doing wonderful work. So, and it's starting to pay off. So I think we'll start to get more and more attention now, because, things are starting to mature.
Yeah, and I've signed up 5 other participants just this morning since the meeting started. So more people are listening.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good. That's the way to get out and market, Craig.
Yeah, indeed.
And we found internally to get more engagement. I posted that consolidated view of where the health authorities are leading, and that gets a lot of attention as well.
All right. Jose, did you have something to say? I know you came off mute.
No, no, I was just gonna say, Craig, this is strong work. I think, Mitra, to the point of with the FDA, and I think the point you were making with the with the gateway, right now the gateway is still kind of centered on an older premise of receiving documents and artifacts directly. We need to push the FDA to stand up a file server so that way they can use IGs like Apex to start receiving these artifacts and then allow the FDA to move closer to EPI, um, um, transition from SPL to EPI. So there's still a lot of moving parts, but I think, pushing the FDA to stand up a file server directly as part of the gateway or in place of the gateway would be a really positive thing to help move these things forward. That's strong work, Craig. This is great.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thanks, Craig. Hugh?
Yeah, thank you. So, I said before we completely leave Apex behind, that Apex certainly is a framework in which all that we've been doing within UDP would fit. It's strictly speaking outside our formal scope, but in terms of things we would be interested in trying and working with, it's absolutely bang on the scope for it. So we did our most recent Connectathon in Rotterdam. I've got a few brief thoughts about how that Connectathon went. I also want to report back on the ballot and give a sense of the comments that we got and what we're doing about that. So Connectathon first off. Connectathon objectives in one sense were very similar to the previous Connectathons. We're testing out what we have put into the IG. We're encouraging people to bring their own protocols. We're encouraging people to bring their own tooling to it. It actually turned out this time around that it was a very small Connectathon from a UDP perspective, but nonetheless we actually did a very detailed review of some sections and were able to sort out some of the little detail challenges that we needed to understand. In particular, we've been working at the examples. We had a more comprehensive example, something that was entirely abstract. We've tried to get people to provide protocols that we can work with, and we're grateful for those that we have received. But there are so many different options, different pieces that may go into a protocol, that to properly exercise all of those areas, I think the only way of doing it is to create something which is abstract in the sense that it's entirely made up, but hopefully is sensible even if it's made up. So we had a more comprehensive example to work through. That picked up some areas that we still need to work on. We identified some areas of mapping that we need to work on. This is partly a consequence of the ballot. I'll come back to that in a minute. We're also just looking at tooling. We've not found any issues with using R6 until now. We did find one small issue in some of the tooling that was using an R5 library. We need to update that. I don't think that's in any sense a showstopper. We were looking at the way we were representing mapping. The examples that we've got within the mapping spreadsheet are there for people to understand from a human perspective how the mapping works, what it would look like. It's relatively labor intensive to create, and it's not something which is directly machine processable. So we have started looking at using file mapping language to express the mapping in a formal way. if you've looked at fire mapping language, it's not something that is easily understood by a non-technical user, or I suspect even by a semi-technical user. But I think if we go down that route, we stand some chance of being able to generate the worked examples in a format that is also human readable, to give the illustration that we had before. And since the Connectathon, I have played about with my friend Claude, and between us we're actually making some reasonable progress on the representation of things. Discovered issues, well, I already said we may need to look at some. Next up, we need to go for publication, as we said, and that of course takes us on to the ballot comments. So if I can have the next slide, please. So interesting, with this ballot we've had 44 issues, 34 of them were change requests, 10 were just technical corrections. The issues that came up were more substantial than some of the issues that came up before. I think as people are getting used to what's in the IG, they're able to dig into it further and understand the consequences better. So I picked out 3 particular areas that we need to look at. The mapping that I've already mentioned, having that in a computable form is seen as an important thing, and that ties back to the conformance question. How do you demonstrate that what we have put into the IG actually conforms to what went into the M11 technical specification and the template? So those two really work hand in hand to provide a mechanism for demonstrating conformance. We also realized that there is a difference in understanding and interpretation. For those of you that have we're dealing with SPL in its version 3 form, you'll remember that the presentation there encompassed having a good old-fashioned style sheet so that you could look at the version 3 content but in a human readable form. There's an element of that within the ICH expectation, and it comes out most clearly when I pick out some of the areas where they're specifying lines of text which are straight boilerplate text, but they're actually put in place as if they were a variable, as a field. So we need to spend some time with the ballotters to make sure we fully understand their comments. We need to have some conversations with ICH about where the boundaries sit in what they actually want us to do. I don't think that's going to be contentious, but we want to make sure we are clear on that. As I said, I've done some work on the mappings, made some initial progress with that. I'm also making a start on the style sheets. And I think the other significant thing we'll be doing is providing not the usual HTML format of an IG, but something that's more familiar to the ICH community, which is in a PDF format, which then points out to the IG. And by putting it in a PDF format, you've got something which is a familiar format, a familiar document, which helps people understand how to interpret the IG, which I think is important, particularly when people don't have a good depth of fire experience. So to wrap all that up, the plans, I think, we will probably be publishing a little bit later than we originally thought. We were hoping to do that sort of July, August. I think it'll probably be a little bit later than that, but I think we're still in a reasonable state for getting something published as we we've always intended. So, with that, I will stop and take any questions anybody has.
Thanks, Hugh. Greatly appreciate that update. Yeah, any questions, feel free to raise your hand or come online or add in chat. Okay. And Hugh, I think there's a lot of recordings available on UDP as well, if I have that correct.
Yep. Sorry, Mike, you broke up slightly. I'm not on the most stable connection. Do you ask your question again?
Yes, I was just alluding to there are recordings available on UDP project updates that people can access.
Yes, indeed. The
All right, I
regular
think
webinars we've done.
you're having
And
connection.
yeah,
I think you're having connection issues. I think I heard you correct. Yes, there are recordings. Filippo, if there's no questions, we can move on to the next section. Mercy, Brian?
Sure, yeah. So yeah, we had a good couple of days on the weekend in Rotterdam. So so we bought, there was a lot of people there as who were able to make it, which was great, and it was also a diverse set of people coming from different points of view. The main question that we were trying to answer was that, which is at the bottom here on the left, is that can AI automatically read clinical trial eligibility rules and tell you whether the patient qualifies, basically. So that's the end result we're trying to get to. So who was live in Rotterdam with us? We had obviously colleagues from Synergist, so my organization. So we had 3 or 4 people there. We had Brian Alper with Computable and his team there. We happened to have a European project called IHR Ready, which is a potential validation opportunity with us. They're not exactly, we don't fully, we're not partners as such, but we work in a similar area. And we had colleagues from CDISC who were also on site with us as well. So we had Berber Snoyer, who many of you would know. Previous to the call, we had some preparation sessions to structure some clinical trials with AI. And there we had the help from breastcancertrials.org. They have been really helping us on a nearly every Monday. They join us to give us feedback on what we're doing. So that I think having that expertise about a particular disease area on a call with you is super helpful. Actually, the other one, the HL7 CQL track, I should have put it on the top. They happened to be at the next table with us, actually, so they tested it along with us. And then we had the Odyssey Athena database that we were using for helping us to figure out what codes to use. So the platform that we used was a platform that the Synergist has been developing called CTDM, and that's the test bed. But mainly we were testing the algorithm, not so much the platform itself. Next slide, please. So what did we find? So we were able to structure a lot. Headline numbers was interesting that the CQL table, who was the table who was next to us, which has CQL expertise, they were one of the gentlemen there, I think it's Bryn was the name. He came over to us asking us, "Hey, can we take one of your trials and see if we can match it to a list of patients that we have?" And he took it away and came back the next day and he said, "Oh my God, I got to tell you." I said, "What?" He says, "We managed to find a match in 3 hours." And I was like, "And 3 hours is like good or it's bad?" Because I couldn't understand what 3 hours means. And he said, "No, no, 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 no. It's really good because normally it takes me 3 or 4 days." So for us, I think for myself, Brian, the team that was there, that was quite a nice validation, even though it was just work that we had done the previous day, that someone could actually use it and make a massive saving. And his 3 hours also included the fact that he noted that, okay, we had still some corrections that we still had to do, and he was also thinking about those corrections. So the 3 hours includes not only taking what we had, but also working on it and saying that, okay, the AI said this, but I think it actually meant that. So he took that into account. So I thought, okay, if the AI is helping to significantly speed up the process, even if still a person has to be involved to make that final understanding bit, that's still a huge thing to go from some days to some hours. Of course, we don't want to advertise ours as our solution. We would like to go 1 day, 2 minutes, but it was certainly a very, very good first outcome. And we covered in total, if we include everything that was done before and during the day, we did about 6 trials in total. So Brian, do you want to say anything about those things a little bit?
Sure. So to understand the CQL concept, it stands for Clinical Quality Language, and it's an executable language to do matching or specifically search FHIR data and find things that match the expression that you put into the CQL language. So Bryn Rhodes, leads a track related to that. And to take the eligibility criteria for whatever sample trial we provided, he would take 3 to 4 days to create the expression in CQL, how to do it. By taking the structured data in FHIR group resource from our eligibility criteria work, he was able to create the CQL expression in 3 to 4 hours. And that was a major time saving. And that is essentially what we're expecting to do. All the work to make structured eligibility criteria does not directly lead to patient matching, but our hypothesis is that any matching algorithm will be able to be done more efficiently using the structured data to start from. And we were able to see that the CQL matching algorithm was created more efficiently by starting from our structured data. The effort in the Connectathon otherwise paralleled what we're doing in the weekly meetings in preparation is to get from the non-structured eligibility criteria to the structured form takes an immense amount of judgments, clinical interpretation, FHIR interpretation, terminology interpretation, and we're learning many different variations in the nuance in doing that, and then rolling that back into improving the AI effort to get there. So one of the major learnings that came from it is representing the overall syntax. What are the criteria? What are the concepts being combined to be the criteria? Separating that from now what is the way to code those concepts is something I think we learned, and then next generation of the AI algorithm will probably first handle what are the basic semantics, syntax structure, expressing the criteria, and then work on converting that to the next step. So I think this was a very productive and successful Connectathon track.
Indeed, and I think we were suitably surprised that we would have actually make a difference for somebody else as well. So on top of that, of course, the team who had been working remotely together also was able to meet face to face. So that was a big topic for all the developers and so on. So that was huge. And they were able to discuss how they see the way that they've done the AI. And also the way that we were initially doing the AI parsing was that we would take the blob of text from clinicaltrials.gov and try to from there already try to say, okay, this is natural language, let's find coded concepts. But as we were working with breastcancertrials.org, they actually have a simpler form of each trial already described in their system, in their database. And what we found is that if we start from a simpler explanation, so something is already written into not a huge blob of text, but it's actually made into separate lines. It's easier for the AI to have a higher score in terms of accuracy. So what we agreed was that, okay, where we have organizations like breastcancertrials.org where they have already this data, we could potentially use it as a secondary source to check what's coming from cd.gov. Where we don't have it, what we would do is we would take the cd.gov block of text and we would first of all ask the AI to rewrite it in simpler sentences, and then start the AI after that. So I think that was also something that it clicked when we were sitting there together, thinking that okay, hey, hold on a second, this could significantly increase the quality. And when we did it, we saw that it changed as well. So many things still to do, many things still to learn, but it was an incredible few days together, I think. So really happy to be there.
To put that in perspective, um, not all eligibility criteria are written with the same level of quality. And a particular example we decided to work with had very, very poorly written eligibility criteria. Like literally the stated eligibility criteria didn't even mention the key condition that the study was about, right? A human would understand in context, but the way the criteria were written, it never expressed breast cancer as one of the criteria. But the breastcancertrials.org summary for lay people had a very nice write-up of who this was for, and that write-up did a better job of expressing the eligibility criteria than the criteria that was posted in clinicaltrials.gov. So in that case, using that write-up as source material for the AI led to the AI doing a better job of coming up with structured eligibility criteria for it.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank
A
you.
very good result. And regarding the question about the project, no, this was not an official project, but we are looking for pilot partners to help us to make this a project in the future. So if anyone is interested, please contact Brian or myself, and we are trying to figure out how to keep this going in a good way. So yeah,
Wonderful.
we would like to do this more with more effort.
I hear the passion, Nursey. It's always good. Thank you guys very much. For the sake of time, I know we have 10 minutes left. I want to make sure Devira has time to go through the slides. Devira, up to you.
Thank you. I'm also joined by Jean Duteau, who's our technical lead. Next slide, please. So I wanted to make sure to be very clear, we are at Connectathon. Coming up in July, we are one of the tracks, although we listed earlier. And one of the things, what we're doing is we're going to ballot at SEU level. And we're super excited about that. We developed is
Devira, quick, if you don't mind pausing for a second, is it me or we're having trouble?
Well, yeah, you're cutting in and out, Devera.
Oh, I don't know what to do. Is this better? Is this better now?
No.
No.
Yeah, it's very difficult to hear you. I don't know if John, if you're able to provide updates.
I can try. So yeah, this is about the Fire to OMOP project. We published back in early of the year an informative version, and we're working on an STU version. We're going to be participating in the upcoming Connectathon, July 7th to 8th. Basically the idea is that we've got a set of fire resources, some curated fire input, and depending on how you go through, we've got 3 different workflows that we're expecting the Connectathon participants to do. You'd have, we compare that against sort of the gold standard, the same OMOP CDM CSV output. So there's the reference tooling that one of our Chris is making. It's a matchbox. It runs the IG structure maps and delegates terminology to a server. We're going to probably be using Echidna for that. So that's sort of the gold standard. But then we're obviously allowing participants to bring their own tooling in. So you may have your own stack that uses your local terminology, or you may have a stack that delegates terminology to a server in its own environment. Either way, the idea is that you'd have this sort of curated fire input, you'd run your tooling on it, and you'd get output of what would go into an OMOP CDM, and we're going to test that. So we're going to be testing hopefully all of the different conformance rules we've got in the guide, all the different things we say about how to go from condition, a fire condition that might end up being an OMOP observation, or it might end up being an OMOP condition, measurements that result in 2 or 3 rows in OMOP, things like that. Next slide. One of the things that we're looking at doing is moving in our guide to the International Patient Summary. As of right now, the guide talks about IPA, International Patient Access, sort of as a minimum, the lowest bar for getting data out of a fire server. But the world is moving to IPS. We're seeing, this when we first started this project, IPS was not as widely used as it is now. So you're seeing Europe, Canada, and Australia are obviously, and even the US are building, realm specific guides that are based on the patient summary. So one of the things that we're looking at is, should we, in our guide, use IPS or talk about IPS as a way to get that patient data? So one of the things we're going to be exploring at the Connectathon is, can we get, if someone were to say to a fire server, to Epic, to Meditech, those apps, get me a patient summary and get that patient summary, is that a good thing to be able to then take and do the conversion? I personally, as the technical person, believe it is. So we're going to be looking at that. It's not that we're not going to base, it's not that like our guide's based on the IPS. And it's not that we're saying only IPS, you can only take a patient summary. We're just saying that in this world where all of the realms and all these systems are building a patient summary module, maybe that might be an easy way to get a set of data. The alternative would be that you'd either pull out patient data piecemeal, or you'd ask a fire server, here, get me everything you know about this patient. And that may or may not be of usefulness. So we have a couple blocking. We did a compatibility review. We've our guide's based on R5 just because we weren't, we were sort of fire agnostic in that sense. But obviously IPS is based on R4. You are getting a bundle of stuff, and IPS talks a lot about absent and unknown records. And depending on the realm that you're in, you're getting different terminology. So there's a lot of interesting questions that we're hoping to explore at the Connectathon, and see where we get. I think that the one thing that I know Devera wanted to bring up is an ask of this group, of the ops group, is that just awareness, but there's also might be something funded that we could do, which is, either as an annex to our guide or a companion IG, which is if someone really wants IPS to OMOP. So we're going to have, some of the issues that we've got, absent or unknown records or missing dates, we already discuss, and it basically becomes, hey, if you don't have this minimum set of data, you can't create an OMOP record. But there's other things within IPS probably that might be of some use. And so again, this project, this is taking on an additional, not really increasing the scope, but a little bit. So I'm adding a paragraph that talks about, hey, if you have a bundle of patient data, whether that's a search result or you've got an actual IPS, here's what our current structure maps can do for you. So yeah, that's one of the new things that we're going to be talking about, along with obviously moving from informative to STU, where we're going to actually have conformance statements in our guide. We're also going to talk about, the world today, which is, IPS and a document or a bundle of resources. Next slide. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. Hopefully I did what Devera wanted me to do. I know she's typing in the text in, so
Sean, you did a great job, and yes, the V-Ray is putting a lot of context in chat as well. So thanks to the apologies again for having connection issues, but hopefully Sean did a great job on that. All right, if
Very
there's
good.
questions on this, Filippo?
Yeah, and we only have 3 minutes. I apologize. We also need to, as a reminder, co-host the demonstration for Apex, which starts in now 2 minutes. So this will be a very summary of my update. Try to go as quick as possible so we can jump on the next call. So those are quick updates about our projects at Vulcan. I'm just giving you updates on active projects. That's what's changed since the last time we talked. On Apex, as I said, there is a demonstration at the top of the hour in just a few minutes. The 3 vendors that are going to demonstrate their products are going to be Amgen, NNIT, and DNA Nexus. And they're also participating at the Vulcan Virtual Connectathon in July. And as you heard, Craig, there's also an EPI meeting that's going to be on the 16th of June for EPI Type 4. Fire to home up, you just heard Jean. Just a little clarification if it wasn't clear enough, but the IPS is just for stress testing during the Connectathon. We're not saying we're going to increase the scope of doing more work. We're just testing right now, seeing compatibility, things like that, what sort of feedback we get from the group. And it's something we're going to tackle in the future as a whole. Fire to 'em Up will be participating on that Connectathon on July 7th and 8th. And right now, we're also trying to finalize these use cases, which are going to be for the IG, which is targeting in September 2026. That's version 2 of our IG. The Phenomics Exchange, I haven't been able to connect with Shaheen this past month, but the objective is still the same. We need to provide final disposition for the tickets based on the ballot and go through one more review with CIC so we can consider this project closed and done. Schedule of activities. It's in the midst of reconciling the ballot tickets from May 2026. We have here a link that's going to bring you to the dashboard where you can review those tickets. There's actually going to be more tickets than what you have there because some feedback was received via email, Outlook. So we're going to have to update those into Jira tickets. It's also going to the July Connectathon, and we have the kickoff call for that Connectathon, which is going to be next Wednesday. It's going to be recorded and posted on the Connectathon page as well, if you can make it. And UDP, you just heard Hugh give an update about the ballot tickets and the feedback we received. As you heard, the feedback is requiring more work, especially in the mapping, and make sure we're using the conformance from M11. As a follow-up to that, we plan to hold meetings with the volunteers that have submitted feedback to make sure we address all of their questions or concerns they might have, both for transparency and make sure they feel inclusive into this process. So those are the next steps for the project. And EPI 2.0, we're going to be talking to the Fire I, stands for my goodness, infrastructure team. We're going to be reaching out to Zulip specifically because the project was working on style sheets and CSS, and it received very good feedback, and we want to make sure we're following guidelines so everybody can potentially even reuse what we have. So we were told to talk to them first, and then we aim to also talk to the working group because we're going to be going through a ballot again for this project, which is intended for January 2027. We are on track with this project, and like I said, the next event for EPI is on June 16th at 11 a.m. And both EPI and Apex will be part of the virtual Connectathon as well. So sorry, we're a little bit over.
All right, Filippo, you got through that. All right, we don't have time for questions, but I'm glad you got through that. I wanted to thank everyone again for meeting us for the June Operations Committee meeting, and feel free to follow up with Filippo if you have any additional questions. Thanks again.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a great day. Bye.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.